Picture a packed Birmingham courtroom, sweat thick in the air, as Officer Victor Grayson crumples to the floor, clutching his chest, guilty verdict ringing out. Nia Carter, a black woman on the stand, stares down, her FBI badge tucked beneath. Her jacket, a faint smile curling her lips. Everyone thinks it's over, justice done. Then her phone buzzes, a voice whispering danger. This win's a lie, a spark for chaos that'll burn her life to ash. What's coming next? Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from, and if you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe for more jaw-dropping tales. Nia Carter stepped onto the cracked asphalt of Birmingham's 3rd Precinct parking lot, her boots scuffing against the faded lines, heart thudding beneath the stiff navy uniform of a rookie cop. It was her first day as Tasha Evans, a he-SM cover identity so airtight even her shadow wouldn't betray her. At 35, she carried the lean build of someone who'd spent years training for moments like this, her brown eyes sharp behind a practiced mask of nerves. She wasn't just any recruit. She was a supervisory special agent with the FBI's Public Corruption Division, sent to dismantle Victor Grayson, a 20-year veteran whose grip on this city's black neighborhoods was a chokehold of fear and greed. His file painted a monster: extortion rackets, beatings disguised as arrests, whispers of bodies gone missing. Nia's mission was simple but brutal: infiltrate his crew, gather the evidence, and bury him. She adjusted her badge, the weight of it a lie against her chest, and walked toward the precinct doors, the Alabama sun scorching her back. Inside, the air was stale, thick with cigarette smoke and the tang of sweat. Officers milled around, their voices a low rumble of gruff laughs and clipped orders. Nia kept her head down, playing the part of the eager newbie, but she felt their eyes on her, sizing her up. A white cop with a buzz cut, his gut spilling over. His belt leaned against the front desk, smirking as she approached. "Well, look what we got here," he drawled, loud enough for the room to hear. "New meat. What's your name, sweetheart?" Nia swallowed the bile in her throat, forcing a tight smile. "Tasha Evans," she said, her voice steady despite the itch to snap back. He snorted, glancing at his buddy, a wiry guy with a toothpick dangling from his lip. "Evans, huh? Hope you don't scare easy. Streets ain't kind to your kind." The room chuckled, a sound that prickled her skin like nettles. She nodded, filing their faces away, knowing this was just the warm-up. Her locker assignment came next, a rusted metal box in a dim hallway lined with peeling paint. She swung it open, and the stench hit her first, sour and rancid, like something had died inside. Then she saw it, scrawled in jagged red marker across the interior door. "Go back to the gutter, nigger." Her breath caught, a cold fist squeezing her lungs. She'd expected hostility, but this was a slap raw and personal. Footsteps echoed behind her, and she slammed the locker shut, spinning to face a tall officer with a buzzed head and a scar, slicing his eyebrow. "Problem, rookie?" he asked, his tone mocking, eyes glinting with something dark. She shook her head, jaw tight. "No, sir." He grinned, all teeth, and sauntered off, leaving her to unclench her fists alone. This was Grayson's world, she reminded herself. She'd known it'd be ugly. That first shift was a gauntlet. They paired her with a silent vet named Rawls, a gray-haired white man who barely grunted directions as they patrolled Birmingham's west side, a sprawl of sagging houses and potholed streets where black families lived under Grayson's shadow. She spotted his handiwork fast, boarded-up shops with faded "for sale" signs, kids darting across roads with wary glances over their shoulders. Rawls didn't care, just chewed his gum and stared ahead. But Nia catalogued every detail. Her, mind a steel trap. Back at the precinct, she overheard whispers about Grayson, the king they called him, a hulking figure who hadn't shown his face yet. She'd meet him soon enough. For now, she played small, kept quiet, let them think she was just another, body to break. Days turned into weeks and the racism sharpened. Her patrol car came back from the garage with all 4 tires slashed, rubber shredded like confetti across the lot. She found a note tucked under the wiper. "Get out while you can, bitch. written in the same red scrawl as her locker. She pocketed it, evidence for later, but her pulse hammered. At roll call, the buzz-cut cop, now known as Doyle, tossed her a mop instead of a radio. "Clean up, princess, it's all you're good for." The room roared and she gripped the handle, picturing it cracking across his skull, but she mopped the floor instead, her silence a weapon. They thought they were winning. They didn't know she was counting. Then Grayson appeared. It was a muggy Thursday evening, the precinct buzzing with end-of-shift chaos. Nia was logging reports at a chipped desk when the door banged open, and there he was, 6'3", broad as a linebacker, his thinning blonde, hair slicked back, uniform stretched tight over a barrel chest. Victor Grayson strode in like he owned the air, his pale blue eyes sweeping the room, landing on her. The chatter died, replaced by a tense hush. He crossed to her in 3 strides, boots thudding, and stopped inches away, towering over her. "You're the new girl," he said, voice low, a southern growl laced with venom. She nodded, keeping her gaze level. "Tasha Evans, sir." He studied her, lips twitching into a faint smirk, the kind that promised trouble. "Heard you're tough, we'll see." He turned away, barking orders at Doyle, but the weight of his stare lingered on her skin. That night, she tailed him. Grayson peeled off in his cruiser, heading to the west side, and Nia followed on foot, slipping through alleys in civilian clothes, a black hoodie hiding her face. He stopped at a dive bar, the Rusty Anchor, a squat brick building with flickering neon. She watched from across the street, crouched behind a dumpster, as he met a wiry black man in a tracksuit, the bar owner, judging by the keys dangling from his belt. Grayson loomed over him, jabbing a finger in his chest, his voice carrying in sharp bursts. 10 grand by Friday or this place is ash." The owner flinched, nodding fast, and Grayson laughed, a sound that twisted Nia's gut. She slid a tiny mic from her pocket, a wireless bug she'd lifted from FBI stores, and waited. When Grayson drove off, she darted across, planted it under a loose brick by the bar's back door, and slipped away. Adrenaline singing in her veins. She had him now, or so she thought. Back at her cramped apartment, a one-room dump with peeling wallpaper and a mattress on the floor, she played the first recording. Grayson's voice crackled through her earbuds, cold and clear. "You don't pay. I light the match myself." She grinned, fierce and fleeting, and sent the file to her handler, Malik Jones, a gruff ex-Marine who'd been her rock for years. "Solid start," he texted back. "Keep digging." Nia leaned back, the chair creaking under her, imagining Grayson's face when the cuffs snapped on. She'd outsmarted him, stayed invisible. She was wrong. The next morning, she rolled into the precinct lot, her beat-up sedan rattling over gravel, and froze. Her patrol car sat there, windows intact, but something was off. She stepped closer and the smell hit her, gasoline, sharp and choking. A puddle glistened under the chassis, dripping from a slashed fuel line. Her stomach dropped. Then came the footsteps, heavy and deliberate. Grayson loomed behind her, his shadow swallowing hers, that smirk back, wider now. "You're asking for trouble, girl," he said, voice ablade. Before she could answer, he grabbed her arm, wrenching it hard, and shoved her against the car's hood. Pain flared up her spine as her cheek slammed into metal, his weight pinning her. "Don't belong here," he hissed, breath hot on her neck. "Next time you won't walk away." He let go, stepping back with a chuckle, leaving her gasping, face throbbing. She straightened, fists clenched, watching him saunter off, his crew snickering from the precinct steps. Nia wiped blood from her lip, tasting copper, and forced her breathing steady. This was his move, his warning shot. She'd expected pushback, but not this fast, not this raw. Her mic was still out there, though humming with secrets. She stumbled to her sedan, slid inside and locked the doors, replaying his words. He didn't know who she was, not yet. She'd keep it that way. That night she patched herself up, ice on her swelling cheek, and checked the bug's feed. More threats, more proof. She was in his game now, deeper than she'd planned. And Grayson was already circling. She'd planted the seed, but he'd just watered it with violence. The real storm was coming, and she'd have to outrun it. Nia Carter slumped against the sagging couch in her dingy Birmingham apartment. the ice pack on her swollen cheek, dripping cold water onto her collar. Her laptop glowed in the dimness, casting sharp shadows across the peeling walls as she replayed the wiretap audio for the third time that night. Grayson's voice rumbled through her earbuds, thick with menace. 10 grand by Friday or I'll torch this dump myself. The bar owner's stammered pleas followed, a desperate, okay, I'll get it. Nia's lips curled into a grim smile, her bruised face aching with the effort. This was gold, pure and damning, the kind of evidence that could crack Victor. Grayson's empire wide open. She'd slipped that mic under the rusty anchor's back wall 2 nights ago, right after he'd slammed her into her patrol car, his smirk still burned into her memory. Now she had him on tape, extorting a black-owned business in broad daylight. What kind of man thinks he's untouchable like that? She saved the file, encrypted it with a password only she and Malik knew, and fired it off to him with a quick note. First nail in the coffin, more to come. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, pulse quickening. Was this the moment she'd been chasing? Malik's reply pinged back fast. Damn, Nia, this is tight. Keep pushing, but watch your back. She exhaled, leaning her head against the couch's frayed fabric, letting the adrenaline settle. She'd been Tasha Evans for 3 weeks now, a rookie cop in Grayson's 3rd precinct, and every day was a grind of racist jabs and veiled threats. The slashed tires, the locker graffiti, Grayson's shove, they were all tests. But this audio was her counterpunch. She pictured him in cuffs, that smug grin wiped clean, and the black folks in West Birmingham finally breathing free. Could she really pull this off without breaking? She shut the laptop, the room plunging into darkness, and grabbed her burner. Phone double-checking the bug's live feed. Static hummed, then Grayson's voice cut in again. Make sure it's cash, no funny business. She nodded to herself, fierce pride swelling in her chest. This was her first victory, a foothold in his world. She'd outsmarted the bastard, or so she thought. That night, she couldn't sleep, the humidity sticking her shirt to her skin, the faint buzz of cicadas outside her cracked window, a restless soundtrack. She patrolled at dawn, paired again with Rawls, the silent vet who barely acknowledged her existence. They cruised the west side, past crumbling row houses and corner stores, with iron bars over the windows, the air heavy with unspoken fear. Nia kept her eyes peeled, noting every detail, the way kids scattered when cop cars rolled by, the way shop owners averted their gazes. Grayson's shadow loomed everywhere, a predator stalking prey. How long had he been bleeding this place dry? She gripped the steering wheel, knuckles tight as Rawls chewed his gum, oblivious. She was alone in this fight, but the wiretap burned in her mind, a lifeline to justice. Shift ended at 6, the sky bruising purple over Birmingham's skyline. Nia parked her patrol car in the precinct lot, the same spot where Grayson had pinned her, and stepped out, her boots crunching gravel. The lot was quiet, too quiet, the usual chatter of cops swapping stories absent. Her neck prickled, instinct screaming danger. She reached for her keys, but the sound came first, boots scuffing fast behind her. She spun, and there they were, 3 of Grayson's crew, Doyle leading the pack, his buzz cut gleaming under the street lamp, a baseball bat swinging loose in his hand. Thought you were slick, huh? He snarled, stepping closer, his breath sour with beer. 2 others flanked him, wiry and mean, one cracking his knuckles, the other twirling a tire iron. Nia's heart slammed against her ribs. Did they know? About the bug? She backed up, palms out, playing dumb. What's this about? Her voice stayed calm, but her mind raced, calculating exits. Doyle laughed, a jagged sound, and swung the bat, missing her head by inches as she ducked. How you don't fit here, trash, he spat, the slur landing like a punch. Time you learned. The others rushed her, a blur of fists and metal. She dodged the tire iron, but a fist caught her jaw, snapping her head back. Pain exploded, hot and bright, blood flooding her mouth. She stumbled, catching herself on the car hood, and kicked out, nailing knuckles in the knee. He howled, dropping, but Doyle's bat slammed into her ribs, knocking the air from her lungs. She crumpled, gasping, as boots rained down, each kick a thunderclap against her spine, her arms, her legs. Stay down, nigger, one growled, spitting on her as she curled tight, shielding her head. How could they hate her this much already? The beating stretched into eternity, her world shrinking to pain and survival. Then it stopped, sudden as it started, their laughter fading as they swaggered off, leaving her sprawled in the dirt. Nia coughed, blood flecking the gravel, every breath a knife in her chest. She rolled onto her knees, trembling, and spat red onto the ground, her vision swimming. Her uniform was torn, her face a mess, but she was alive. She dragged herself to her sedan, every move agony, and slumped inside, locking the doors. Her fingers fumbled for her phone, texting Malik. Ambushed, still breathing, evidence safe. His reply was instant. Get out now. But she couldn't. Not yet. She'd survived Grayson's dogs. Wasn't that proof she could take him? She patched herself up at the apartment, wincing as she taped her ribs, the mirror showing a map of bruises blooming purple across her dark skin. She popped 2 aspirin, the bitter taste grounding her, and checked the bug's feed again. Grayson's voice crackled. That rookie's trouble. Keep an eye on her. Her gut twisted. He didn't know about the wiretap, not yet, but he smelled something. She leaned against the sink, staring at her reflection, a battered warrior staring back. She'd won round 1, gotten the audio, lived through their wrath. She could do this. Then her phone buzzed, a news alert. West Side Blaze grocery store gutted. Her breath stopped. The screen showed flames licking the night sky, a black-owned shop reduced to cinders. She knew that place, Mama June's, a corner store she'd passed on patrol, the owner a grey-haired woman who'd smiled at her once. Grayson's words echoed, 10 grand or ash. Nia stumbled to her laptop, hands shaking as she pulled up precinct chatter. Suspect, Tasha Evans, the report read, claiming she'd torched the place in a fit of rage. Evidence, a gas can with her prints, found at the scene. She slammed the lid shut, rage boiling over the fear. He'd burned it anyway. Payment. Or not, and pinned it on her. How far would this bastard go? She grabbed her burner, texting Malik. Arson framed, need backup. His response was curt. Hold tight, we're moving. She paced the tiny room, the walls closing in, her mind racing. She'd scored a hit with the wiretap, thought she'd outplayed him, but Grayson had flipped the board, turned her into the villain. The precinct would hunt her now, his crew salivating for round 2. She sank onto the mattress, clutching her side, the fire's glow haunting her. This was his game, and she was still in it, deeper and bloodier than before. What? Do you think of Nia's grit, taking on Grayson's crew and still standing? Drop a comment with number 1 if you're rooting for her to bury him, or number 2 if you think she's in over her head. Smash that like button if you're fired up for justice, and subscribe to catch every twist as this battle explodes. Was it the audio that pushed Grayson too far, or was he always planning to crush her? Stick around to find out what he unleashes next. Nia Carter crouched in the back seat of her sedan, the engine off, the Birmingham night pressing in like a fist. Her face throbbed, a roadmap of bruises from Grayson's crew, her ribs screaming with every shallow breath. The precinct had turned. On her fast, a warrant blazing across every cop radio within hours of Mama June's grocery store going up in flames. Tasha Evans, armed and dangerous. The dispatch crackled earlier, her cover name now a death sentence. She ditched her uniform for a hoodie and jeans, the fabric stiff with dried blood, and driven to a crumbling safe house on the city's edge, a one-story shack with boarded windows and a sagging roof. The news played on her burner phone, muted, but glaring, her mugshot plastered across the screen, eyes swollen shut, lip split, captioned, "Rogue cop suspected in arson." How could they twist her this far? She gritted her teeth, tasting copper, and powered up her laptop, its faint hum the only sound in the stifling dark. The wiretap file sat there, a lifeline in the chaos. Grayson's voice, cold and cruel, demanding. Cash or fire was her proof, but it wasn't enough anymore. He'd framed her with that gas can, her print somehow on it, a lie so bold it choked her with rage. Who'd he bribe to pull that off? She dug deeper, hacking into a backdoor she'd planted in the precinct's server weeks ago, a trick from her FBI days. Bank records flickered onto the screen. Grayson's name tied to deposits from known gang fronts, 5,000 here, 8,000 there, all funneled through a shell account labeled VG Enterprises. Her pulse spiked. a jagged thrill cutting through the pain. This was bigger than extortion, this was a network, and she had the receipts. She zipped the files, her fingers trembling, and drafted an email to Jamal Reese, a scrappy black journalist, at the Birmingham Herald, who'd been sniffing around police corruption for years. "How you want the story of the decade? Here's your shot," she typed, attaching the audio and records, hitting send before doubt could creep in. Was this her way out? She waited, curled in the safe house's shadows, the air thick with mildew and desperation. Her phone buzzed at 2 in the morning. Jamal's reply, "Holy hell, Tasha, this is dynamite. Meet me at dawn, Carver Park, by the old fountain." She exhaled, a shaky breath, hope flickering like a match in the wind. If he broke this, Grayson's smirk would fade, the city would see the truth, and she'd be free. She patched her ribs again, wincing as the tape pulled her skin, and popped another aspirin, the bitter pill dissolving on her tongue. She'd survived the beating, outsmarted the frame-up. Could she really turn the tide? She grabbed a cap, pulled it low over her battered face, and slipped out, the night swallowing her as she drove to the meet. Carver Park was a ghost at dawn, the fountain dry, its stone cracked and mossy. Nia spotted Jamal by a warped bench, his lanky frame hunched over a notebook, dread spilling from a beanie. She approached, every step a stab in her side, and slid onto the bench beside him. "You're late," he muttered, not looking up, his pen scratching fast. "Had to dodge a tail," she lied, scanning the empty park, her nerves electric. He glanced at her then, eyes widening at her bruises. "Damn, they did a number on you." She shrugged, wincing. "Part of the job. You running it?" He nodded, flipping his notebook shut. "Front page tomorrow, Grayson's done." She let out a breath she didn't know she'd held, a rush of triumph washing over her. The Herald would hit every doorstep, every screen, and she'd be vindicated. Or so she thought. The story dropped at 8, a sledgehammer to Birmingham's morning calm. "Corrupt cop extorts black businesses," the headline screamed, Jamal's byline bold above Grayson's photo, that smirk frozen in ink. The wiretap. Audio played on the Herald's site. Grayson's threats looping, the bank records laid bare. Nia watched from the safe house, streaming it on her phone, her chest tight with something like victory. Social media erupted, hashtags trending. Grayson guilty. Justice for West Side. Black voices shouting what they'd known too long. She smiled, a cracked, painful thing, imagining Grayson squirming in his precinct office, his kingdom shaking. She finally landed the knockout. She leaned back, exhaustion tugging at her, when her phone buzzed, a text from Malik. "Good work, but stay low. Heat's coming." She frowned, unease prickling her spine. What heat? She didn't have to wait long. That afternoon, sirens wailed past the safe house, a cacophony that set her teeth on edge. She peeked through a boarded slit, saw cop cars swarming downtown, lights flashing like a war zone. Her burner buzzed again. A news alert. Herald journalist found dead, suicide suspected. Her stomach plummeted, ice flooding her veins. She clicked the link, and there was Jamal, his body slumped in his apartment, a gun in his limp hand, a note pinned to his shirt. "I lied about Grayson. Tasha made me." The room spun, her breath hitching as she scrolled. Photos showed texts forged in her name. "Push the story or I'll kill you." Time-stamped hours before. She dropped the phone, hands shaking, bile rising in her throat. How did he do this so fast? Nia stumbled to the sink, splashing water on her face, the colder slap to her reeling mind. Grayson had struck back, not with fists this time, but with a chess move so ruthless it stole her air. Jamal, her ally, her voice, gone, his death twisted into a noose around her neck. She checked the precinct chatter, hacked in again, and found the update: Tasha Evans, prime suspect in Reese murder, motive, silence, corruption, expose, lies. Her victory crumbled to ash, Grayson's crew spinning the narrative, painting her as the monster. She slammed her fist into the wall, plaster cracking, rage and grief warring in her chest. Who'd believe her now? She grabbed her laptop, replaying. The wiretap, clinging to its truth. But the world saw a different story. One where she was the villain, not the victim. She paced the shack, the floorboards groaning, her mind a storm of questions. Grayson had allies, deep ones, to pull this off, a coroner to fake the scene, a hacker to plant those texts. How high did his web climb? She texted Malik. "Jamal's dead, framed again. What's the play?" His reply was slow. "Feds are rattled. Lie low, I'm pushing for extraction." She snorted, bitter, tossing the phone. Extraction? She was a fugitive now. A cop killer in their eyes, her cover blown to hell. The safe house walls felt like a cage, the air thick with defeat. She'd thought the leak would save her, clear her name, but Grayson had turned it into a guillotine, dropping it on her neck. She sank to the floor, head in her hands, the fire's smoke still haunting her, now joined by Jamal's ghost. She'd won a battle, but he'd started a war and she was bleeding out in it. Think Nia's got the guts to outlast Grayson's dirty tricks? Drop a comment with number 1 if you're betting on her to fight back, or number 2 if you think he's already broken her. Hit that like button if you're stunned by this twist, and subscribe to see her next move in this brutal game. Did Grayson kill Jamal just to spite her? Or is there a bigger play hiding in the shadows? Stay tuned to unravel the chaos he's unleashing next. Nia Carter jolted awake in the safe house, the acrid stench of mildew snapping her from a fitful doze. Her ribs ached, a dull fire under her skin, her face a swollen mask of purple and black from Grayson's crew. Birmingham's night pulsed outside, sirens wailing in the distance, a constant reminder she was hunted. The warrant for her arrest had ballooned. Tasha Evans, suspect in arson and murder, plastered across every news channel after Jamal's staged suicide. She was a ghost now, slipping through the city's veins, dodging Grayson's cops and their itchy trigger fingers. She ditched her sedan miles back, hot-wired a rusted pickup from a junkyard, and driven to this shack, a forgotten speck on the West Side's fringe. Her burner phone buzzed, Malik's text glowing in the dark. "Feds can't move yet, stay off the grid." She cursed under her breath, tossing it aside. Off the grid. She was a damn pariah. How much deeper could this pit get? She hauled her laptop onto a rickety table, its legs wobbling under the weight, and plugged into a stolen Wi-Fi signal from a nearby trailer park. The precinct server hack still worked, a lifeline she'd clung to since day one. She scrolled through files, her eyes burning, until she struck gold, a grainy video from a bodycam Grayson's squad had lost. It showed him in an alley, towering over a black teen, maybe 16, skinny and trembling, hands up, begging, "I didn't do nothing." Grayson's fist crashed into the kid's face, blood spraying, then his boot stomped down, again, until the boy went still, a crumpled heap on the concrete. Nia's stomach lurched, bile scorching her throat. The timestamp read 6 months back, the report claiming, "Resisting arrest, suspect fled." A lie buried by the DA. Who let this monster roam free? She copied the file, her hands steady despite the rage boiling in her chest, and sent it to Malik with a clipped message. "Teen murder. Grayson on tape. Push it hard." She leaned back, the chair creaking, picturing the feds storming in, Grayson's smirk shattering as cuffs snapped tight. This wasn't just extortion, this was slaughter, and she had him cold. Could this finally end him? She waited, the minutes dragging, her breath shallow against bruised ribs. Malik's reply came at dawn. "FBI's greenlit raids. Grayson's safe houses are toast. Hold tight." She grinned, fierce and fleeting, the first spark of hope since Jamal's blood stained her hands. She streamed precinct chatter, heard the chaos unfold. Units to 14th Street, 22nd Avenue, weapons drawn. Grayson's empire was cracking. Was this her ticket out? The raids hit like thunder. News helicopters buzzing overhead, footage streaming live, SWAT teams kicking down doors, hauling out guns, cash, and gangbangers tied to Grayson's payroll. Nia watched from the safe house, her phone propped on Great, the screen flickering as anchors stumbled over the story. Massive police corruption bust in Birmingham? She clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms, tasting a victory she hadn't dared imagine. Grayson's safe houses, his, dirty money dens gone in a sweep. She'd done this, her video the match that lit the fuse. The DA would have to act now, right? She paced the shack, adrenaline drowning the pain, waiting for the next shoe to drop. It always did with him, it dropped fast. Her phone buzzed, a new alert. District Attorney statement, video evidence inconclusive. Her heart sank, a stone in her gut, as she clicked the link. The DA, a pale, pinched man named Harold Vance, stood at a podium, his voice oily. The footage lacks context, no clear proof of wrongdoing. Investigation pending. Nia's jaw tightened, her breath hissing. Out, inconclusive. She'd seen Grayson stomp that kid to death, blood pooling under sodium lights, and this suit called it unclear. She slammed the table, the laptop jumping, rage clawing up her spine. How much did Grayson pay to gag this? She checked precinct. Chatter again, found the leak. Vance squashing it, orders from up top. Her victory evaporated, dust in her mouth, the raids a hollow show. Then the real blow landed. Another alert. Breaking, new suspect in teen murder case. She froze, dread coiling tight, and opened the story. Her mugshot flashed again. Tasha Evans linked to unsolved killing, DNA evidence recovered at scene. She stumbled back, the wall catching her, her mind reeling. DNA? She'd never been near that alley, never touched that kid. The article detailed a coroner's report. Her fingerprints on a knife found buried in the dirt, a weapon she'd never seen. Grayson's voice from the wiretap echoed, "I'll torch it myself." But this was worse, a frame so tight it choked. Her. Who'd he own to plant that? She texted Malik, "Murder rap. DNA's fake. Help me." His reply was grim. "Feds are spooked. You're radioactive, digging into it." She sank to the floor, the boards cold against her legs, her world shrinking to a pinpoint of panic. She replayed the video, frame by frame, the kid's pleas a knife in her gut, Grayson's boot a hammer on her hope. She'd thought she'd won, thought the raids would nail him, but he'd slithered free, turned her weapon into his. The DA's dismissal wasn't just bias, it was a shield, and now she was the cop killer. The teen's blood on her hands, in the public's eyes. How could he twist this so fast? She grabbed her backpack, stuffed the laptop inside, and checked her pistol. The weight a grim comfort. She had to move, the safe house a trap now, Grayson's hunters closing in. She slipped out, the pickup rumbling to life, and drove into the night, headlights off, a shadow among shadows. The city hated her, the system had her throat, and Grayson was laughing somewhere, his empire bruised but breathing. She found a new hideout, a derelict barn 10 miles out, its roof half caved, hay rotting in the corners. She parked the truck behind a rusted tractor, killed the engine, and sat in the dark, the video looping in her mind. That kid's face, his fear, it was personal now, a ghost joining Jamal's in her fight. She'd given the feds everything, thought they'd save her, but Grayson's reach was a noose tightening with every move. Could she outrun this lie? She hugged her knees, the pistol cold against her hip, the barn's silence a roar in her ears. She'd struck a blow, seen his safe houses burn, but he'd struck back harder, painting her as the Reaper. The war was on, and she was losing, cornered by a system that ate its own to protect him. What's your take on Nia's fight against this rigged game? Comment number 1 if you think she's got the fire to expose Grayson, or number 2 if you reckon the system's already crushed her. Smash that like button if you're raging at this injustice, and subscribe to catch every brutal turn in her battle. Did Grayson's crew plant that DNA to bury her, or is there a traitor closer than she knows? Keep watching to see how far he'll twist the knife next. Nia Carter hunched in the barn's shadows, the air thick with damp rot, her pistol a cold weight against her thigh. Birmingham's outskirts stretched silent beyond the sagging walls, a deceptive calm masking the chaos hunting her. Her face was a patchwork of bruises, her ribs a cage of pain, every breath a reminder of Grayson's crew and their bats. The DNA frame-up for the teen's murder had turned her into a phantom, wanted for crimes she'd never touched. Her Tasha Evans. Cover a noose tightening around her neck. The safe house raids had been her strike, the video of Grayson stomping that kid to death her ace, but the DA's dismissal and the planted knife had flipped it all, leaving her radioactive even to the feds. She needed out now. She grabbed her burner phone, its screen cracked but glowing, and texted Malik Jones, her FBI handler, Framed for murder, extraction ASAP, I'm drowning. Her fingers shook, the Barnes chill seeping into her bones. Could he still pull her from this abyss? Malik's reply buzzed back, sharp and urgent. Feds are stalled, but I've got a plan. Sting up on Grayson tonight. Gang meetup, 11th Street warehouse, 10 o'clock. Get his confession. We'll nab him clean, sending cords. Nia's pulse spiked, a jolt of hope cutting through the dread. A sting? She'd done dozens in her career, but this was personal. Grayson's blood on her hands, now a promise, not a fear. She checked her gear, laptop, backup recorder, a tiny mic she'd stashed in her boot, all she had left to fight with. She texted back, I'm in. Don't screw me. His response was instant. Trust me, Nia. This ends him. She snorted. Bitter, trust-afraid thread after the DA's betrayal. But Malik was her rock, the one voice she'd clung to through this hell. Was he still solid? She rolled out at dusk, the stolen pickup rattling over dirt roads, headlights off, the city's glow a smear on the horizon. The 11th Street warehouse loomed ahead, a hulking shell of rusted steel and broken windows, gang tags splashed across its sides. Nia parked a block away, slipped the mic into her collar, and crept through the shadows, her boots silent on cracked pavement. Voices drifted from inside, low and rough, Grayson's southern growl unmistakable. She peered through a shattered. Payne saw him pacing 6'3", his uniform swapped for a black jacket, a circle of gangbangers around him, tattoos snaking up their arms. Double the cut by next week or I let the feds sniff you out, he barked, his smirk flashing in the dim light. Nia's recorder hummed, catching every word, her breath shallow against bruised ribs. Could this tape be her salvation? She edged. Closer, the mic picking up static, then clarity. Grayson's voice a blade. That kid in the alley. I did him myself. Mouthy little punk thought he could snitch. Her gut twisted, the teen's face flashing, bloodied and still. Her evidence, now alive in his own words. She held her position, heart hammering as he ranted on, anyone crosses me, they end up like him, or that bitch Evans. She froze, his mention of her a gut punch, but she kept recording, the minutes stretching, her legs cramping in the cold. Then headlights flared outside, tires screeching, and SWAT vans roared in, doors bursting open, agents spilling out with rifles raised. Grayson spun, his smirk vanishing as shouts filled the air. FBI, hands up! Nia exhaled, relief flooding her, Malik's sting hitting like clockwork. Was this the end? Grayson dropped to his knees, cuffed in seconds, his crew scattering, but nabbed by the dozen. Nia slipped back to the pickup, her recorder clutched tight and drove to the barn, adrenaline singing in her veins. She uploaded the audio to Malik. Got him confessing the murder. You're welcome, his reply buzzed. Perfect, he's in custody. Meet me at the safe house midnight, we're pulling you out. She grinned, a cracked, painful thing, imagining Grayson's face behind bars, his empire dust. She'd done. Kid ambushed him at his own game, turned his arrogance into chains. She patched her ribs again, the tape tugging her skin, and headed out, the pickup rumbling toward the west side, the safe house a beacon of escape. She'd survived the frame-up, the raids, the systems clause, and now she'd won, or so she thought. The safe house loomed at midnight, a squat brick box with blacked-out windows, its door ajar in the stillness. Nia parked, stepped out, her boots crunching gravel, and froze. Smoke curled from the cracks, faint but sharp, a warning in the air. She drew her pistol, heart slamming, and nudged the door open, the hinges creaking. Flames licked the walls inside, a roaring orange beast devouring the couch, the table, her last refuge. She stumbled back, coughing, as the heat blasted her face, her mind racing. Who'd found her? Then she saw them, shadows moving fast, Grayson's crew, Doyle at the helm, his buzz cut glinting in the firelight, a Molotov cocktail in his hand. Told you, trash, he snarled, hurling it at her feet. Glass shattered, fire exploded, and she dove, rolling into the dirt as the blaze swallowed the porch. She scrambled up, lungs burning, and ran, boots pounding as the crew gave chase, their shouts a chorus of hate. Get the bitch! Bullets whizzed past, one grazing her arm, blood blooming hot and wet. She zigzagged through alleys, her ribs screaming, the fire's roar fading behind her. She ducked into a dumpster, its stench a shield, and waited, trembling as their footsteps thundered past. Her arm throbbed, her safe house ash, and then her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Grayson's free. Malik sold you out. You're done." Her breath stopped, the words a sledgehammer to her skull. Sold out. She checked precinct chatter, hacked in with shaking hands, and there it was. Grayson released, insufficient evidence, witness compromised. Malik's voice on a recorded call followed. "Take the cash, let him walk. Evans is burned." Her stomach heaved, betrayal cutting deeper than any bullet. Naya slumped against the dumpster's rusted wall, the night closing in, her world imploding. Malik, her anchor, had taken Grayson's bribe, fed her to the wolves, and exposed her real identity. Nia Carter, FBI, to the precinct. The sting was a sham, her confession tape buried, and now Grayson's dogs had torched her last stand. She'd thought she'd won, seen him cuffed, but he'd played her, turned her own team against her. How could Malik do this? She ripped the mic from her collar, crushed it under her heel, and checked her pistol, 3 rounds left. The barn was too far, the city a kill zone. She crawled out, blood dripping from her arm, burns blistering her legs, and staggered into the dark, a hunted animal with nowhere to run. Grayson was loose, her cover blown, and the fire's heat still seared her soul. She'd struck deep, but he'd struck deeper, and now she was alone, truly alone in his war. Nia Carter stumbled through Birmingham's back alleys, her boots scraping wet pavement, the stench of the dumpster still clinging to her clothes. Her arm bled from the graze, a hot trickle soaking her sleeve, her legs blistered from the safe house. Fire's kiss. Malik's betrayal echoed in her skull, his voice on that call. "Take the cash, let him walk." A knife twisting deeper than Grayson's bullets. She was Nia Carter, FBI now, her Tasha Evans cover torched with the safe house. Wanted posters screaming her name across every corner of the city. News vans prowled, their lights slicing the night, anchors droning. Fugitive cop linked to arson, murder, corruption scandal. She ducked into a storm drain, its concrete damp and cold, her pistol trembling in her hand. 3 bullets left. How could she fight when her own team had sold her soul? She crouched in the drain, water dripping from rusted pipes, her burner phones. Cracked screen, her only window to the world. Her mugshot looped on every feed, bruised and defiant, captioned, "Traitor cop, Nia Carter, public enemy." The precinct chatter she hacked buzzed with glee. "She's done, Grayson's back on the street." Her stomach knotted, rage simmering beneath the exhaustion. Malik's stab had freed Grayson, buried her sting tape, and turned her into the devil in Birmingham's eyes. Who'd believe her now? She clutched the phone, its battery at 5%, and scrolled X, where West Side voices still raged. Grayson killed that kid, not her. A spark flickered in her chest, faint but alive. Could she turn their anger into a weapon? She needed allies fast. She remembered Sister Grace, a steel-spined black activist who'd run a community center on 8th Avenue, a woman who'd stared down cops and won. Nia had met her once, undercover, Grace's eyes sharp, seeing through the Tasha mask but saying nothing. She crawled from the drain, the night air biting her burns, and limped to a payphone, its glass smeared with grime. She fished quarters from her pocket, dialed Grace's number from memory, and prayed. "Who's this?" Grace's voice snapped, wary. "It's me from the precinct, Nia, I need help." A pause, then, "You're the one they're hunting, what's the truth?" Nia spilled it, the video, the sting, Malik's knife. Grace grunted, "Come to the center, dawn." Nia hung up, hope a fragile thread, and hobbled off, the city a maze of threats. The center was a brick fortress, its windows glowing soft in the gray dawn. Grace met her at the back, her silver braids glinting, her face etched with suspicion turned to fire as Nia played the teen murder video on her dying phone. "That bastard," Grace hissed, slamming a fist on the table. "We're rallying today." Nia nodded, exhaustion fading under the woman's steel. By noon, Grace had a crowd, 200 strong, black folks from the west side, fists raised, signs scrawled with "Justice for the Kid" and "Grayson guilty." Nia stood at the edge, hoodie low, as Grace roared into a megaphone. They freed a killer and framed her, shut this city down. The march surged, blocking First Avenue, horns blaring, news choppers circling. Naya's chest swelled, a raw, wild pride. Had she flipped the script at last? The protest grew, a roaring beast, 300 then 500 chanting her name, Nia, Nia, Nia. Traffic stalled, downtown paralyzed, Grayson's release a wound they tore open. She watched from a side street, her burns throbbing. As Grace led them to City Hall, their voices a thunderclap against its stone walls. X lit up, Nia Carter trending, clips of the march viral. She's innocent, he's the devil. Nia grinned, a cracked, fleeting thing, imagining Grayson squirming in his precinct lair, his crown slipping. The DA's office scrambled, issuing, "Her weak, we're reviewing evidence," but the streets didn't care. She'd rallied them, turned their pain into power, humiliated him. Was this her real victory? Then the world exploded. She'd slipped to a corner store for water, the crowd still roaring blocks away, when a boom shattered the air, a fireball blooming over City Hall's plaza. Screams erupted, glass raining, smoke choking the sky. Nia dropped the bottle, her legs buckling as her phone buzzed. A live feed showing the carnage, bodies sprawled, blood pooling, the rally a graveyard. Her breath stopped, horror clawing her throat. The anchor's voice cut in, "Bombing at protest, dozens dead, suspect, Nia Carter." She staggered back, the wall catching her as the feed flashed a manifesto. "I'll burn this city before I let Grayson win," signed in her name, forged with a precision that crushed her. How could he do this so fast? She hacked precinct chatter, her hands shaking, and heard the glee. Carter's a terrorist now, Grayson's orders. The bomb was his, a slaughter to frame her, turning her triumph into a massacre. News scrolled, 50 confirmed dead. Nia Carter's revenge. Her allies, Grace's people gone, their blood on her hands in the public's eyes. She sank to her knees, the pavement cold, her mind a storm of guilt and fury. Who'd helped him rig this? She texted Grace's number, praying, but no reply came. The center's line dead. She'd rallied them to fight, thought she'd won. But Grayson had turned their hope into ash, her name a curse. She stumbled up, the city a kill zone now, and ran, her burns searing, the ghosts of the dead trailing her. She'd struck him down, but he'd struck back harder, a god of wrath she couldn't outrun. The march had been her stand, a fist raised against his empire, but the bomb was his checkmate, a slaughter so vile it broke her. She found a sewer grate, pried it open, and dropped inside, the dank tunnel swallowing her, her pistol her only friend. The walls dripped, echoing her ragged breaths as she replayed the fireball. The screams, Grace's face lost in the smoke. She'd thought she'd reclaimed power, but Grayson had turned her into a monster. The city's hate a tidal wave crashing over her. How far would he go to bury her? She clutched her phone, its battery dead, and sank into the dark, a hunted shadow, the protest's blood staining her soul. She'd won a moment, but he'd won the war and she was drowning in it. Is Naya's courage enough to topple Grayson's evil, or has he already crushed her spirit? Drop a comment with number 1 if you believe she'll rise from this hell, or number 2 if you think he's broken her for good. Hit that like button if this twist shook you to the core, and subscribe to see her fight through the wreckage. Did Grayson bomb the rally just to frame her, or is there a darker puppet master pulling his strings? Stick around to uncover the next brutal blow in this unrelenting storm. Nia Carter crouched in the sewer's gloom, the dank air stinging her burns, her pistol a cold anchor in her trembling hand. Birmingham's underbelly echoed with dripping water and distant sirens, a relentless pulse chasing her deeper into the dark. The protest bombing had shattered her, 50 dead, their blood pinned on her with a forged manifesto, Nia Carter's revenge. Her face was everywhere, wanted posters plastered on every pole, news feeds screaming terrorist cop. Her name a curse in the city she'd fought to save. Grace was gone, likely ash in the plaza's rubble, her rally a grave. Nia's arm throbbed, the graze crusted with blood, her legs blistered from the safehouse fire, every breath a stab through bruised ribs. She was a hunted animal. 3 bullets. Left, no phone, no allies. Malik's betrayal a wound that wouldn't close. How much more could she lose? She slumped against the slimy wall, the concrete biting her back, and rummaged through her backpack. her last lifeline. The laptop hummed faintly, its battery at 10%, a stolen signal flickering from some oblivious apartment above. She hacked the precinct server again, her fingers stiff but sure, digging past the chatter of her manhunt. There, buried in encrypted files, was Grayson's ledger, a digital goldmine she'd missed before, names, dates, payoffs, linking him to half the city's elite, councilmen, judges, even the governor's chief of staff. Her pulse spiked, a jagged thrill cutting through the despair. This wasn't just a cop's racket, this was a syndicate, and Grayson was its kingpin. Could this be the key to end him? She worked fast, the sewer's chill seeping into her bones, copying the ledger to a flash drive, her breath fogging the screen. She knew a judge, Evelyn Hart, a federal hardass in Montgomery who'd taken down mob bosses, a woman who might listen. Nia slipped out at dusk, the city's glow a threat overhead, and limped to a gas station 10 miles out, its neon flickering in the dusk. The clerk, a bored teen with earbuds, didn't glance twice as she used the counter-computer, emailing Hart. The ledger with a burner account, Grayson's empire. Nia Carter, FBI, truth enclosed. She attached the teen murder video, the sting confession, every scrap she had, and hit send, her heart hammering. Would Hart bite? She hobbled back to a rural shack, a rotting shell with no roof, and waited, the night swallowing her whole. The response came at dawn, a news alert on a scavenged radio. Federal indictment rocks Birmingham. Officer Victor Grayson, named in corruption probe. Nia's breath caught, a ragged gasp as the anchor detailed raids. Governor's office implicated, arrests underway. She sank into the shack's dirt floor, relief washing over her, sharp and fleeting. Hart had moved, the ledger a sledgehammer, smashing Grayson's web. She hacked precinct chatter, heard the panic. Feds took him from his house, he's locked up tight. Her lips cracked into a smile, blood flecking the edges, imagining his smirk gone, his empire crumbling. She'd struck from the abyss, turned the tide. Was this finally over? Then the abyss struck back. Her burner buzzed, a new number, a video. File loading slow on its dying screen. She clicked play and her world stopped. Tanya, her sister, 32, a nurse with soft eyes and a laugh Nia clung to in her darkest hours, sat bound in a chair, duct tape gagging her mouth, blood streaming from a gash on her forehead. A voice rasped off screen. "You thought you'd win, Carter?" Tanya whimpered, her eyes wide with terror, as a gloved hand yanked her hair, a knife glinting at her throat. The screen cut to a hooded figure. "Grayson's militia sends regards. Surrender by midnight or she's meat." Nia dropped the phone, a scream clawing up her throat, her hands shaking so hard she couldn't breathe. How did they find Tanya? She stumbled outside, the shack's walls a blur, the Alabama air thick with dusk's heat. Tanya lived in Mobile, 2 hours south, a quiet life Nia had kept separate, safe, until now. Grayson's crew, his white supremacist, dogs had tracked her, ripped her from her home to twist the knife deeper. Nia hacked the militia's dark web chatter, her laptop flickering, and found the post, "Got the sister, Grayson's orders break her." Her stomach heaved, bile scorching her mouth as she replayed the video. Tanya's pleas muffled but piercing. She'd thought the indictment was her knockout, seen him cuffed again, but he'd played a card she couldn't counter. Family, the one thing she'd shielded. Could she save her? She paced the shack, dirt grinding under her boots, her mind a storm of guilt and fury. The ledger had hit hard, cracked his empire, but Grayson's militia was a beast unbound, loyal beyond bars. She checked her pistol, 3 rounds, not enough. For a war, and scavenged the shack, finding a rusty hunting knife under a plank, its edge dull but lethal. She texted the number back. "Where?" A reply pinged. "Old Mill, 20 miles west, midnight, alone." Her jaw tightened, the trap clear, but Tanya's face burned in her mind, bloodied and begging. She'd won a battle, humiliated him, but he'd turned it personal, a strike to her core. How far would he stretch this vengeance? She drove the stolen pickup, its engine coughing, to the mill, a skeletal ruin of brick and steel, its smokestack, jagged against the moonless sky. She parked a mile out, crept through the woods, the knife strapped to her leg, pistol in hand, every step a stab through her burns. The mill loomed, its windows black, a faint whimper drifting on the wind. She circled, spotting Tanya through a crack, tied to a beam, two militia goons in camo pacing, rifles slung. Nia's chest tightened, rage drowning fear as she planned her move. She'd leaked the ledger, thought she'd buried him, but Grayson had dug into her soul, taken her sister to prove he'd never yield. She gripped her gun, 3 shots her only play, and slipped closer, the night a shroud around her breaking heart. The indictment had been her lifeline, a rope from the abyss. But Tanya's abduction was Grayson's noose, yanking her back into hell. She hid behind a rusted barrel, the mill's damp air chilling her sweat, and watched the goons, their voices a low growl. Boss says gut her if Carter don't show. Nia's breath hitched, her sister's life a ticking clock, the midnight deadline looming. She'd struck him down, seen his empire bleed, but he'd struck deeper, turned her victory into a nightmare. She was alone, hunted, her body a wreck, but Tanya was all she had left. She'd fight, die if she had to. But Grayson's win would cost him blood. The abyss had swallowed her, and she'd claw her way out or drag him down with her. Nia Carter crouched behind the rusted barrel, the old mill's damp air clawing at her lungs, her pistol slick with sweat in her trembling grip. The Alabama night pressed in, thick and moonless, the faint whimper of her sister Tanya slicing through, the silence like a blade. Her arm burned from the graze, her legs blistered from the safehouse fire, every breath a jagged ache through bruised ribs. Grayson's militia had Tanya, bound and bleeding inside, a knife at her throat, their ultimatum clear: surrender by midnight or she dies. Nia's burner phone lay dead in her pocket, her laptop useless in the truck a mile back, 3 bullets and a rusty knife her only weapons. The ledger had landed Grayson in cuffs, his empire reeling. But this was his counterstrike, her sister the price of her defiance. Could she outsmart them one more time? She edged closer, the mill's brick wall rough against her palm, peering through a jagged hole. Tanya sat tied to a beam, her nurse scrubs torn, blood streaking her forehead, her soft eyes wild with fear. 2 goons in camo paced, rifles slung, their boots scuffing the dust. A third figure hooded and silent by the door. Nia's chest tightened, rage boiling over the dread as their voices growled, "Carter's late, gut the girl." She checked her watch, 11:58, her pulse a hammer in her skull. She couldn't storm them, not with 3 rounds against rifles, but Tanya's life hung by seconds. She slipped the knife from her boot, its dull edge a grim promise, and made her choice. Surrender was her play, but not his victory. How could she turn this trap into his tomb? She stood, hands raised, pistol dangling loose, and stepped into the mill's open doorway, the night framing her like a ghost. "I'm here," she rasped, voice steady despite the fire in her wounds. The goons spun, rifles snapping up, the hooded one barking, "Drop it!" She let the gun clatter to the floor, 3 bullets useless now, and locked eyes with Tanya, a silent vow in her gaze. The taller goon, a scar twisting his lips, smirked. "Grayson said you'd break." He grabbed her arm, wrenching it hard, and shoved her inside, the knife still hidden against her leg. She stumbled, pain flaring, but kept her footing, scanning. The room, the beam, the exits. Could she get Tanya out alive? They dragged her to Grayson, unbound from custody. His hulking frame filling the mill's center, 6'3", his blonde hair slicked back, that smirk curling his lips like poison. "Well, well, Carter," he drawled, stepping close, his breath sour with whiskey. "Thought you'd bury me with your little files?" He loomed over her, a predator savoring prey, as the goons flanked her, Tanya whimpering behind. Nia's heart raced, but she'd planned this, her surrender abated. Hook. She'd taped her backup recorder to her chest before leaving the truck, its tiny red light blinking under her hoodie, streaming live to a dark web feed she'd rigged days ago. Millions could be watching, his confession her net. Would it work? Grayson grabbed her jaw, fingers digging into her bruises, and snarled, "You're nothing, just a rat who got lucky." She spat in his face, blood flecking his cheek, and he roared, backhanding her hard, her head snapping sideways, stars bursting in her vision. "I killed that kid," he bellowed, spittle flying. Stomped him till he stopped twitching, and I'd do it again. You, I'll carve you slow. Nia staggered, tasting copper, but the recorder hummed, catching every word. His racism, his murders, his glee. Tanya sobbed, "Nia, no!" as the goons laughed, but Nia grinned, cracked and fierce, knowing the world heard him now. Was this her checkmate? He ranted on, oblivious. Burned your rally, bombed those filth, and I'd torch this whole city to keep my crown. You're the terrorist, Carter, not me. His voice was a storm, each admission a nail in his coffin. The live stream soaring, X lighting up with E. Grayson confesses, the feed viral in minutes. Nia's knees buckled, pain and triumph warring, as he grabbed a knife from Scar, its blade, gleaming, and pressed it to her throat. Time's up, he hissed. But then sirens wailed, close and fierce, tires screeching outside. The goons spun, rifles up, as SWAT breached, doors exploding inward. FBI, drop it! Grayson froze, his smirk vanishing, the knife clattering as agents swarmed, cuffs snapping on him mid-gloat. Had she finally won? They dragged him out, his roars echoing, "This ain't over!" Nia sank to her knees, blood dripping as an agent cut Tanya free, her sister collapsing into her arms, sobbing, "You're crazy!" Nia hugged her tight, the recorder still, rolling her sacrifice a spotlight on Grayson's rot. Medics rushed in, bandaging her arm, her burns, but she waved them off, staring at the mill's dust, the fight draining from her. The livestream had millions. The world raging, Grayson rearrested, his confession a noose he'd tied himself. She'd traded her freedom for Tanya's life, thought it was the end, her defiance a blaze that burned him down. Or so she believed. Then the night turned again. She'd limped to the truck with Tanya, the medics trailing when the radio crackled. Jailbreak at County, Grayson loose. Her breath stopped, ice flooding her veins as precinct chatter flooded her hacked feed. Militia hit the lockup, sprung him Carter's Prince on the scene. She stumbled, clutching Tanya, her mind reeling. Prince? She'd been here, bleeding in the mill, not there. The news hit. Nia Carter orchestrates cop's escape. Anarchist plot confirmed. Doctored footage showing her at the jail. A fake so slick it stole her air. Grayson's voice rasped from a militia broadcast. She's mine now. His smirk audible, his vengeance unbound. How did he flip this so fast? Nia shoved Tanya into the truck, her sister's pleas a blur. We have to go. She floored it, tires screaming, the mill shrinking in the rearview, her heart a drum of panic. The livestream had nailed him, his arrest a global spectacle, but his militia had struck back, freed him in hours, and pinned it on her with forged proof. She checked her pistol, empty now, the knife lost in the mill, her body a wreck of burns and blood. Tanya gripped her arm. What's happening? Nia's jaw tightened. He won't stop. The city blurred past, a kill zone again, her name a rallying cry for his dogs. Who'd faked that footage? She pulled into a ditch, the truck hidden by pines, and hacked the chatter again. Grayson's crew owns the streets, Carter's the fall guy. Her sacrifice had saved Tanya, exposed him to millions, but he'd turned it into her guillotine, a jailbreak so bold it broke her win apart. She'd thought she'd ended him, seen him cuffed twice, but his militia was a hydra, cutting one head, spawning two. She sank into the seat, Tanya's breath hitching beside her, the night a shroud of dread. She'd defied him, burned his mask off, but he'd burned her back, branding her an anarchist, a cop killer, free to hunt her again. The sire, war raged on and she was falling, her sister the only light in the abyss. Nia Carter huddled in the sewer's fetid depths, the stench of rot and rust choking her lungs, her body a wreck of burns and bruises pressed against the slimy wall. Birmingham's underbelly groaned around her, pipes dripping, rats skittering, a dank tomb swallowing her whole. Her sister Tanya was safe, stashed in a motel 2 counties over after the mill rescue, but Nia was a ghost, hunted by Grayson's militia, the city, the feds, her name a curse on every tongue. The jailbreak had flipped her livestream triumph. His confession buried under forged footage branding her the anarchist who'd freed him. Her pistol was empty, her phone dead, her backpack soaked, the laptop's battery at 3%, her last thread to fight. She'd hit rock bottom, her arm crusted with blood, legs blistered, ribs screaming with every breath. How much more could she bleed? She fumbled the laptop open, its faint glow a lifeline in the dark, and hacked into Grayson's server one last time, her fingers numb but relentless. The precinct feeds buzzed with her manhunt. Carter spotted near 5th, terminate on sight, but she dug deeper, past the noise into his private files. There it was, the ledger's master copy, unencrypted, a sprawling map of his empire, names in bold, Mayor Ellis, Judge Carver, half the city council, payouts in the millions, properties. Flipped with blood money, her pulse thudded, a ragged spark in her chest. This was the mother lode, proof he owned Birmingham's soul. Could this finally break his grip? She worked fast, the sewer's chill gnawing her bones, copying the file to a flash drive, her breath a shallow hiss. She'd lost Judge Hart's trust with the jailbreak frame, so she aimed higher. Governor Lila Monroe, a black woman who'd campaigned on justice, a long shot but her only shot. She crawled from the sewer, the night air biting her burns, and limped to a truck stop, its neon buzzing like a wasp nest. The clerk, a grizzled man with a limp, didn't blink as she used his ancient PC, emailing Monroe the ledger. Grayson's puppet master, Nia Carter, FBI, save this city. She attached the teen video, the sting audio, every nail she'd hammered, and hit send, collapsing against the counter, her body a trembling ruin. Would Monroe act? She staggered to a rural shack, a crumbling husk 5 miles out, its walls splintered, roof caved, and waited, the hours bleeding into dawn. A scavenged radio crackled, breaking Governor Indick's Birmingham elite in corruption sting. Nia's breath caught, a jagged gasp, as the anchor rattled off names. Grayson arrested again, Mayor Ellis in custody, council resignations. Flood in. She sank into the dirt, relief a hot flood through her veins, the ledger a tsunami smashing his web. Precinct chatter screamed, "Feds hit his mansion, he's done." She grinned, blood crusting her lips, picturing his smirk gone, his empire ash. She'd struck from the sewer, turned rock bottom into a reckoning. Was this her resurrection? Then the abyss roared back. Her scavenged radio buzzed, a new broadcast cutting through. Horror in Birmingham. Lynching Rock City. Her stomach dropped, ice flooding her core as the anchor's voice trembled. Jamal Carter, brother of fugitive Nia Carter, found hanged downtown, white supremacist graffiti at scene. Nia's knees buckled, a scream tearing from her throat, raw and animal, as she scrambled to the radio, twisting the dial, praying it was a lie. The feed switched, live footage, Jamal's body swinging from a lamppost, his gentle face bruised, a noose tight around his neck, Nia's lies kill scrawled in red paint below. She vomited, bile scorching the dirt, her hands clawing her hair, her world shattering. How did they find him? She stumbled outside, the shack's splintered walls a blur, the Alabama dawn mocking her with its pale light. Jamal, 30, a mechanic. With a quiet laugh, lived in Tuscaloosa, a life she'd kept sacred, untouched by this war. Grayson's militia had tracked him, ripped him from his shop, and strung him up, a public execution to gut her. She hacked their dark web feed, her laptop flickering, and found the post, "Carter's brother pays for her treason, Grayson's justice." Her chest heaved, sobs breaking free as footage looped, a mob in hoods chanting, "Burn the traitor!" Grayson's voice crackled. She'll watch her bloodline rot. Her stomach twisted, guilt and fury warring, Jamal's death a blade through her soul. Could she have saved him? She sank into the dirt, the radio's static a drone in her ears, replaying the lynching, his body swaying, the crowd's cheers a nightmare she couldn't wake from. The indictment had been her lifeline, a rope from the abyss, nailing Grayson and his puppets. But this was his vengeance, a racial terror so vile it broke her. She'd thought she'd won, seen his empire implode, but he'd turned her strike into a slaughter, her brother the sacrifice. How far did his hate reach? She clutched the flash drive, its edges cutting her palm, the victory hollow. Jamal's ghost joining Tanya's fear, Grace's ash, the rally's dead. She'd fought for justice, but it cost her everything, her family the collateral in his war. She crawled back to the shack, the dirt cold against her knees, and checked her pistol. Empty, useless, the knife lost, her body a wreck of pain and loss. The city roared beyond, a kill zone where Grayson's dogs hunted, her name a rallying cry for their hate. She hacked the chatter again. Militia claims Carter ordered the hit. Grayson's free to lead. Her jaw tightened, the lie a sledgehammer, turning her into the monster who'd lynched her own kin. She'd struck him down, cracked his empire wide, but he'd struck deeper, a public murder to bury her soul. She curled into a ball, the shack's shadows swallowing her, Jamal's face haunting her, the ledger's triumph dust in her mouth. She was alone, broken, the abyss her home, and Grayson was winning, his hate a tide she couldn't stem. Nia Carter staggered from the shack, the Alabama dawn a pale smear over the pines, her body a furnace of pain and grief. Jamal's lynching played in her skull, his gentle face swinging from that lamppost. Nia's lies kill scrawled in blood-red paint, a wound that bled her dry. Her arm throbbed, crusted with old blood, her legs blistered from fires past, ribs a cage of agony from every beating she'd endured. Grayson's militia had taken her brother, turned her ledger's indictment into a hollow victory, and branded her the traitor who'd ordered his death. She was empty, pistol spent, knife lost, laptop dead, but rage burned where hope had died, a wildfire fueled by Jamal's ghost. She'd end Grayson herself. No feds, no justice, just vengeance. Could she bury him in his own grave? She scavenged a shotgun from a hunter's shed a mile out, its stock splintered, shells scattered in a tin can, 6 rounds her last arsenal. The trek to Grayson's mansion took hours, her boots crunching through underbrush, the city's edge, giving way to sprawl then wealth. His lair a fortress of white columns and iron gates on Birmingham's north side. She'd hacked his address weeks ago, a detail tucked in her mind's steel trap, now her beacon. Dusk fell as she reached it, the mansion glowing, guards in militia camo patrolling the lawn, rifles slung. She slipped through a drainage ditch, mud soaking her burns, and waited, the shotgun a cold weight against her chest. How many could she take before they took her? The guards thinned at midnight, 2 left pacing the gate, their chatter a low hum. Nia crept closer, the ditches stink, her cloak, and aimed, her hands steady despite the tremble in her soul. She fired. The blast a thunderclap, the first guard's chest blooming red, his body crumpling. The second spun, rifle up, but her second shot caught his throat, blood spraying as he fell gurgling. She vaulted the gate, adrenaline drowning the pain, and stormed the mansion, kicking the oak door wide, its hinges splintering. Inside, opulence mocked her. Marble floors, chandeliers, Grayson's voice booming from upstairs. "Who's there?" She grinned, a feral thing, and charged, shotgun raised. Was this her last stand? He loomed on the staircase, 6'3", his blonde hair wild, no uniform now, just a black shirt stretched tight over his barrel chest. "Carter," he snarled, that smirk flashing, a pistol in his hand. She fired, the shot tearing plaster above his head as he ducked, returning fire, bullets chewing the banister. She dove behind a couch, splinters raining, and reloaded, her breath a ragged hiss. "You killed Jamal!" she roared, voice raw, and fired again, the blast shredding his arm, blood splattering the wall. He howled, stumbling, but lunged, tackling, her his weight crushing her ribs, the shotgun skittering free. They grappled, her burns screaming, his fist slamming her jaw, stars bursting. Could she outlast his hate? She clawed his face, nails raking flesh, and kneed his groan, a sweet sound as he rolled off. She scrambled for the shotgun, but he grabbed her ankle, yanking her back, his pistol jamming against her temple. "You're done," he spat, blood dripping from his torn cheek, but she twisted, elbow smashing his nose, cartilage crunching. He reeled and she lunged, snatching a lamp, its base heavy brass, and swung, cracking his skull. He crumpled, groaning, and she pinned him, the shotgun's barrel under his chin, her finger on the trigger. "Confess," she hissed, pulling her last recorder from her pocket, its red light blinking. "Jamal, all of it." Would he break? He laughed, a wet, broken sound, but her glare burned, the barrel digging deeper, and he spoke, voice thick. "I ordered it. Hung your brother, watched him choke, loved every second. That kid, the rally, all mine. You're nothing, Carter, just filth I'll bury. She grinned, savage, the tape rolling, his words a noose he didn't see tightening. Sirens wailed outside, close now. The militia's raid echoing back, cops swarming from the city she'd paralyzed. She slammed the stock into his temple, his eyes rolling back, and stood, bloodied, victorious, as uniforms burst in. Hands up! She dropped the gun, raised her arms, the recorder clutched tight, Grayson's confession her shield. Had she finally caged him? They cuffed him, dragging his limp bulk out, his blood smearing the marble, her tape handed to a wide-eyed cop. Get this to the feds. She sank against the wall, her body a ruin, burns searing, ribs cracked, but alive. Jamal's killer hers. At last. The precinct buzzed. Grayson down, Carter's got proof. The confession hitting airwaves within hours, X exploding. He admitted it all. She'd stormed his castle, beaten him bloody, thought it was done, her vengeance a blazing triumph. Tanya was safe, Jamal avenged. Grayson's empire ash. She let them cuff her too, her fight spent, the world hearing his rot. Or so she believed. Then the hammer fell. She sat in a holding cell, the cold bench biting her burns, when the radio crackled. Judge voids Grayson confession, coercion claimed. Her breath stopped, ice flooding her veins, as a guard sneered, "You're screwed, Carter." She hacked. A jail terminal, her cuffs chafing, and found the ruling Judge Carver, a ledger name. Evidence obtained under duress, inadmissible, Grayson released. Her stomach plunged, a scream clawing her throat as chatter buzzed. He's free, Carter's the thug. She'd thought she'd won, taped his soul bare, but Carver, his crony, had snapped it away. His power a wall she couldn't breach. How did he own them all? She slumped, the cell's grey walls closing in, when a boom shook the jail, a fireball roaring outside, glass shattering, screams echoing. She stumbled to the bars, smoke curling through, her hacked feed screeching. Car! Bomb at precinct lot, Carter's vehicle, her prints on the trigger. Her knees buckled, the lie a sledgehammer, Grayson's voice on a militia broadcast. She'll pay in blood. She'd parked the truck blocks away, but they'd rigged it, her DNA planted, the blast her new noose. Cops rushed past. Get her out. And she was dragged to a van, her body maimed, burns splitting as news hit. Carter bombs jail, Grayson walks. Who'd die next? The van screeched off, her hands cuffed, the world a blur of smoke and hate. She'd stormed his mansion, forced his truth, thought she'd ended him. But Carver's ruling and the bomb had flipped it, her vengeance a spark he'd drowned in fire. She was broken, leg bleeding from shrapnel, arm useless. Grayson free, smirking on camera somewhere, his malicious trap a masterpiece. She'd struck him down, avenged Jamal, but he'd struck deeper, turned her into the Reaper again, her fight costing her body, her soul. The van rattled, the city a kill zone, and she sank into the seat. A shell, his war raging on, her defiance a fading ember in the dark. Nia Carter limped into the Birmingham courthouse, her leg a mess of bandages from the car bomb's shrapnel, her arm hanging limp, burns splitting under a borrowed suit. The van ride from the jail had been a blur, cops silent, their glares cutting deeper than the glass in her skin. She'd stormed Grayson's mansion, beaten his confession out, thought she'd ended him, but Judge Carver's ruling and the bomb had flipped it, branding her the villain again. Now, days later, she faced the trial, her last stand, scarred and broken, every step a stab through her battered frame. The gallery buzzed, a sea of faces, reporters, activists, Grayson's militia in plain clothes, their eyes promising death. Could she bury him with words when bullets had failed? She took the stand, the wooden chair creaking under her, her cuffed hands trembling as she swore the oath, voice hoarse but steady. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. The prosecutor, a wiry black man named Daniel Pierce, stepped up, his suit crisp, his gaze sharp. State your name and occupation, he said, voice cutting the room's hum. Nia Carter, Supervisory Special Agent, FBI Public Corruption Division, she replied, her chest tight. The badge she'd hidden for months now, her shield. Grayson sat at the defense table, 6'3", his blonde hair slicked, that smirk twitching. his arm bandaged from her shotgun blast. How could he still grin? Pierce paced. "Agent Carter, tell us about Victor Grayson." She leaned forward, pain flaring, and unleashed it, years of evidence spilling out. He extorted black businesses, killed a teen in an alley, bombed a rally, lynched my brother Jamal, torched my safe house, framed me for it all. Her voice cracked, Jamal's face flashing, but she pressed on. "I went undercover as Tasha Evans, recorded his threats, his confession, tracked his ledger to the mayor, the council, the elite." She detailed the wiretap, the sting, the live stream. Every blow she'd landed, her scars proof of his war. The gallery gasped, reporters scribbling, Grayson's smirk faltering as she laid his empire bare. Could they see the monster now? She pulled the flash drive from her pocket, handed it to Pierce. "This has it all, audio, video, bank records," his own words. He entered it, exhibit after exhibit, the teens beating on screen, blood pooling, Grayson's voice booming. "I'd do it again." The room shuddered, a collective breath held as Jamal's lynching footage played. His body swinging, the mob's cheers a gut punch. Nia's eyes burned, but she stared Grayson down, his pale blue gaze meeting hers, defiance flickering to unease. Pierce pressed, "Why frame you?" She swallowed, "To silence me, to keep his power, to punish me for fighting back." Was this enough to nail him? The defense rose. Grayson's lawyer, a slick white man named Paul Reed, his tie blood red, his tone oily. "Agent Carter, you assaulted my client, coerced that confession under duress." She clenched her fists. "He killed my brother, held my sister at knife point. I fought to survive." Reed smirked. "A vigilante tale, but no proof beyond your word." She snapped, "The tape's proof, the ledger's proof, his blood's on my hands because he forced it there." The judge, Maria Ellison, a stern Latina with gray streaks, banged her gavel. "Enough." Reed sat, but Nia's fire burned, the room electric with her truth. Could they deny what they'd heard? Witnesses followed, Tanya trembling on the stand. "They cut me, threatened to gut me. Nia saved me." A Fed corroborated the ledger. "Grayson's network ran deep. We've arrested dozens." The jury, 12 solemn faces, watched, their eyes flicking from Nia to Grayson, weighing her scars against his smirk. Pierce closed. "This is corruption's face, a killer with a badge, brought down by one woman's courage." Reed countered, "She's a liar, a terrorist, framing an innocent cop." Nia's gut twisted, her body a testament to his lies, but the jury vanished to deliberate, hours stretching, her hope a fragile thread. Would they see through his mask? The verdict came at dusk, the courtroom thick with sweat and silence, the bailiff's voice a hammer. "On all counts, conspiracy, murder, racketeering, we find Victor Grayson guilty." A roar erupted, cheers and sobs, Grayson's head snapping. Up, his smirk gone, his face draining white. He clutched his chest, a choked gasp escaping, and crumpled, collapsing to the floor, his bulk thudding on marble. Nia froze, her breath hitching as medics rushed in. "Heart attack." The gallery surged, cameras flashing, her victory ablaze in her chest. She'd done it, testified, nailed him, watched him fall. Jamal's ghost avenged, Tanya safe, the city free. Was this justice at last? They dragged her back to holding. Uncuffed now, her leg throbbing, burns weeping under bandages, but alive. The verdict echoing, "Guilty, guilty, guilty." She sank onto the cot, exhaustion crashing. Grayson's collapse a surreal end, his. Empire ash, her scars the price. She'd thought it was over, her testimony a sledgehammer smashing his throne, the courtroom her battlefield won. The precinct buzzed. He's alive, critical, but cuffed, done, her fight finished. She closed her eyes, Jamal's laugh faint in her mind, a fleeting peace settling over her broken frame. She'd won, or so she believed. Then the gavel fell. Again. A guard burst in. "Court's back now." She limped to the stand, confusion twisting her gut, the gallery hushed, Pierce pale, Reed grinning. Judge Ellison cleared her throat. "New evidence suggests jury tampering. Grayson's team claims Carter's influence. I'm ordering a retrial." Nia's breath stopped, a scream clawing her throat as Pierce protested. "Your Honor, the proof." Ellison cut him. Overruled, process must stand. Grayson's medics wheeled him out alive, smirking faintly, his allies in the shadows striking back. Her stomach plunged, the verdict dust, her victory snatched by his machine. How did they rig this so fast? She slumped, the stand's edge biting her palms, the room spinning, her body a ruin of shrapnel and fire. The retrial loomed. Grayson free again, his smirk on camera soon. She'll never win. Precinct chatter buzzed. Carter's done. He's untouchable. She'd testified, poured her soul, thought she'd ended him, seen him collapse. But his judge, his web, had flipped it, her triumph a mirage. Jamal's death, Tanya's terror, her scars all for nothing, the system his shield, her fight costing her everything. She was dragged back to the cell, leg bleeding, burns splitting, a shell, his war unending, her justice a fading echo in the dark. Nia Carter slumped in a vinyl booth at a rundown diner on Birmingham's outskirts, the air thick with grease and despair, her body a tapestry of ruin under a stained hoodie. Her leg oozed from the car bomb's shrapnel, her arm hung useless. Burns wept through bandages, every breath a rasp through bruised ribs. The trial's guilty verdict had been her blaze of triumph, Grayson collapsing as justice landed, only for Judge Ellison's retrial order to snatch it away, his allies rigging. The jury branding her the villain again. She was free, uncuffed after the chaos, but a fugitive still hunted by his militia. The city's hate a tidal wave drowning her. The diner's clock ticked past midnight, March 9th, 2025. Her coffee cold, her eyes hollow. Jamal's lynching, Tanya's terror, the rally's dead, all ashes in her soul. Could she claw back from this void? She stared at the cracked mug, her reflection a ghost in the black liquid, scarred and unrecognizable. The woman who'd fought. Grayson's empire reduced to a shadow. The diner was empty, save for a waitress mopping in the corner, the hum of a flickering neon sign the only sound. Her burner phone sat dead on the table, her pistol long gone, her fight spent in the courtroom's glare. She'd testified, poured her blood into that stand. Thought she'd won when he fell, but his machine had turned it. Retrial a noose she couldn't escape. Grayson was out there smirking, his heart attack a feint, his power unbroken. How did he always rise? Then the phone buzzed, a vibration so sudden she flinched, spilling coffee across the table. It was dead, battery drained hours ago, yet the screen glowed. A call from an unknown number, the same cryptic buzz from the trial's end. She snatched it, heart hammering, and answered, "Who's this?" A woman's voice, young, sharp, cut through. "Elise Grayson, don't hang up." Nia froze, the name a jolt. Grayson's daughter, 22, a shadow in his world. Never on the ledger, never in the chatter. "What do you want?" Nia rasped, her throat raw. Elise's tone hardened. "I've got his master files, everything he hid. Proof he framed you, Jamal's murder, all of it. Meet me now." Could this be real? Nia's mind raced, suspicion warring with desperation, Elise's voice a lifeline in the dark. "Why help me?" she demanded, gripping the phone, her burns stinging with the effort. "He's a monster," Elise snapped. "Destroyed my mom, me, you, I'm done." Nia's breath hitched, a crack in Grayson's armor she'd never seen, his own blood turning blade. "Where?" she asked, voice trembling. "Old rail yard, 10 minutes west. Come alone." The call cut, the phone dying again, its last gasp. Spent. Nia stumbled up, leaving a crumpled 5 on the table, and limped out, the night swallowing her, hope a faint ember in her chest. Was this a trap, or her last shot? She hot-wired a junker from the diner lot, its engine coughing as she drove, the rail yard looming, a sprawl of rusted tracks and rotting boxcars under a starless sky. Her leg bled through the bandage, her vision blurring, but she parked and crept, in the air cold, metal creaking in the wind. Elise stood by a boxcar, slim, blonde like him, her face pale, a flash drive in her hand, her eyes darting. "You're her," she said, voice tight, tossing the drive. Nia caught it, her fingers numb, and plugged it into a scavenged tablet from the truck, its screen flickering alive. Files spilled out, Grayson's voice ordering Jamal's lynching. "Make it public, break her." Bank transfers framing her, the bomb's blueprint, all unencrypted, undeniable. Could this bury him for good? Elise paced. I leaked it already. Dark web, news nets everywhere. He's finished. Nia's pulse spiked, the tablet buzzing as X lit up. Juliu Grayson exposed. Clips viral. His voice a global noose. I own this city. She's nothing. She grinned, cracked and fierce, relief flooding her ruin. The files a sledgehammer smashing his throne. Precinct chatter screamed, Feds raiding again. Grayson's nabbed. Life sentence pending. She sank against the boxcar, the tablet slipping, her body folding, justice a bitter balm on her wounds. Elise nodded. He's done forever. Nia exhaled, Jamal's ghost easing, Tanya safe, the rally's dead avenged. Was this her win at last? Then the twist came, a glint in Elise's hand, a pistol rising fast. Nia's breath stopped, instinct kicking too late. As Elise fired, the shot a thunderclap, the bullet tearing through Nia's chest, blood blooming hot and wet. She crumpled, gasping, the tablet clattering, Elise's face cold above her. You ruined my family. Nia choked, air fleeing, her hand clawing the dirt, the drive inches away, justice hers, but her life spilling out. Elise whispered, He's in hell now, but so are you, and walked off, her boots fading, the night swallowing her. How could victory cost her everything? Nia lay there, blood pooling, her chest a furnace of pain, the rail yards rust her grave. The tablet flickered, news streaming. Grayson sentenced to life, daughter's leak seals fate. His smirk gone, cuffs tight, his empire ash. She'd won, exposed him, ended him. But Elise's bullet was the price, a daughter's vengeance, for a father's fall. Her vision dimmed, Jamal's laugh faint, Tanya's face a blur, the rally's chants echoing, her scars, the cost of truth. She smiled, faint and cracked, justice hers, a martyr's crown, as her breath slowed, the world fading. Grayson's defeat, her last light. Could she rest now? The diner's clock had ticked her end, the call her doom, Elise's files her triumph. Turned tomb. She'd fought from sewer to courtroom, ledger to livestream, her family's blood her fuel, and struck him down. His life sentence a monument to her war. But Elise's shot flipped it, a daughter's rage stealing her breath, her victory bittersweet, her body broken beyond repair. Sirens wailed, distant, too late, the rail yard silent, her blood soaking the earth, the tablet's glow fading. Grayson falls, Carter dead, a headline she'd never read. She'd clawed from the abyss, burned his world, but the abyss claimed. Her justice a shroud over her still form. The war won, her life lost. Nia Carter's relentless battle against Victor Grayson reveals profound truths about courage, betrayal, and the cost of justice in a world steeped in systemic racism. Her journey teaches us that resilience can shine even in the darkest corners. As she faced beatings, frame-ups, and the loss of her brother Jamal, yet never stopped fighting. Nia's story underscores the power of truth, her evidence, wiretaps, ledgers, confessions, toppling a corrupt empire despite overwhelming odds. It's a testament to the strength found in standing up, even when the system turns its back, a lesson for anyone facing injustice to keep pushing, to document, to resist. Yet, her tale also lays bare the brutal reality of betrayal, from Malik's sellout to Elise's final shot, showing how trust can crumble under greed or vengeance, leaving scars deeper than any physical wound. The cost of her fight, Jamal's lynching, Tanya's terror, her own death, highlights a grim truth. Justice often demands a price paid in blood, especially for those challenging entrenched power. Nia's sacrifice as a black woman against a racist machine reveals the disproportionate burden borne by the marginalized, a call to recognize and confront these inequities head-on. Her bittersweet end, winning Grayson's life sentence only to die by his daughter's hand, teaches that victory can be hollow when personal loss overshadows it. It's a stark reminder to weigh what we fight for and what we lose. So what's your takeaway from Nia's war? Drop a comment on whether her sacrifice was worth it, hit like if her grit moved you, and subscribe for more tales of defiance. Share this if you stand against corruption. Thanks for joining this journey. May you find strength to face your own battles and justice in your corner.